that. It's super old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Of course. So let me just test this first. Testing. Okay, great. So, hi everyone. This is Lily representing Scar Rhapsody. I'm here interviewing Prince Fahad, who's an amazing person that I'm excited to share with all of you. So Your Highness, so do you have anything to say about how you got into comics?
Right. First of all, thank you for having me and taking the time. I really appreciate it. Comic books were a window to the world for me. Growing up in Saudi Arabia, being in a very controlled environment and ecosystem, we didn't really get as many opportunities to experience the world. Like very few travel here and there, but comic books was a way for me to realize that there is a world out there, and more importantly was how I learned English. And I started off with X-Men, and I think I was lucky enough with that experience because of how diverse the core group was. You had Storm, you had Jubilee, so I started seeing myself, and I started understanding that there is an opportunity for me to tell stories, but also learn. And engage myself, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And even though I went to college and I went and did a mechanical engineering degree, in the back of my head, I was like, I need to do something in this space. So when I got the opportunity of wanting to really change perception when it came to where I come from, I felt like comic books was the natural way, and here we are today.
That's great. That's great. So do you have like a favorite comic book? I know you mentioned X-Men.
I mean, I'm a die-hard X-Men fan. Psylocke is one of my favorite characters of all time. I think there's not one, because when you're growing up in the Middle East, like I didn't even know that DC and Marvel were different. So for me, it's just more about the characters that resonated with me the most, and the X-Men world for me is because their key topic is discrimination. That kind of resonated with me. But I would say, Dark Phoenix Saga is my favorite kind of experience when it comes to comics.
You're definitely not alone in that. I know for a lot of fans of comics or any media, their favorite things are ones when you can resonate with them. People you can relate to. And that's why it's so important to have more diversity in the media. Right. So coming from your end, what inspired you to actually start this project?
I was here in the U.S. in school post 9/11. Living here and studying here and experiencing culture here, I started to realize that I was being limited to certain identities that I didn't convey nor did I choose. And I started asking, why is this happening? And I understood it's because of lack of representation or being misrepresented. So the solution process was like, okay, I can sit and complain about this, or I can try to do something about it. And I got frustrated by specifically how the women of my country were being how they're being represented and marginalized by global media. Yes, we have restrictions, and yes, it's conservative, and yes, it's tough, and women, it's still perceived as second-class citizens, and there is changes and progress happening, but the women that I grew up with, my mom, my sister, my aunts, my grandmothers, they were the strongest, beings that I've ever experienced in life. When we talk about the restrictions that women have, when my mom would go out every day to go, to the store, go out of the house, to see her prepare for the obstacles she knows she's gonna face made me, I would always be worried about her, but when she comes back, she's a warrior. And I was like, this is the Arab woman. This is the woman. This is the identity that I want to push out there. And I felt, okay, comic books, I'm gonna tell the stories of what I know. And that's what I really wanted to do, was just break the mold and change perception and really build a healthy space for diversified and varied, authentic representation of women, first and foremost because that's my interest, but also of individuals and humans from any part of the world. Because we're starting inspired by the Arab world because of how they're marginalized, but the stories we're going to be telling is going to be highlighting, characters from, from the rest of the world in other countries.
That's great. great. I know that this is your first comic book, the Latifah one.
Right.
So I was wondering what inspired this character development of Latifah, or like what inspired you to actually create her?
You know, creating a character that has all these ideals and values attached to it, you know, can be problematic because it can come off the wrong way. And I didn't want to shock people for the sake of shocking them. So I wanted to ease them into this world. So Latifah is, was inspired actually by a girl I met at Burning Man, an Arab girl that I met at Burning Man. And when I saw her, even her costume, and I was like, that's it. That's Latifah. She was the inspiration. And Latifah represents, she's a blank slate. You know, her home was destroyed by these mutants, or these terrorists, if you may. She's like living in the desert, being raised by a robotic sword that only sees black and white. You know, it's called Al Faisal, and Al Faisal means the divider between good and evil. So she was a representation of what our world is today. Like even within here, the U.S., you see the climate has become, the right has become super right and the left has become super left. And that's the wrong way to approach anything, because you can't be black and white. So with her, coming from that perspective, and then having her learn about the gray areas of the world through the experiences she's having, is a way to kind of usher in and kind of handhold the audience members, a lot of them who are going to be Arab women, into this experience. So they get to, I didn't want to impose on them any values, but I wanted them to be curious and explore, approach this world and this content and this mission with curiosity. And that's what she represents.
That's great. That's great. So she was inspired by actually someone you met, like on a whim, and you're like,
I was
this is the person I need to be the heroine.
This is the image that needs to come out, because I'm tired of content when it comes to women. If a woman is doing what is seen as masculine things, then the men are be like, no, like that's the most derogatory and condescending way to approach it. It's eliminating all of that and treating the characters as human characters, and their gender is the last thing about them.
Yeah.
And so far, I hope that we're achieving that, and we're going to keep trying as best as we can to make sure that keeps going.
Yeah, of course. And I know also that for Saudi Girls Revolution, Latifah is just the first character in the first comic, and there's also the game, the mobile game that's out. Right. So are you actually going to have different comics for each of the characters?
I'll show you. So we have New Kingdom.
Oh wow!
So this is based on a character that is, it's basically within this post-apocalyptic world, an Israeli and Palestinian tribe banded together because they wanted to live peacefully. So they go and live underground. And this is the first character. She's the crown princess of this kingdom.
Yeah.
We have Agent Sarab, who's our version of Iron Man, I guess you may. She's the protector of the holy cities. We have Infidel. This is going to be our next comic coming out. And we also have Pride of Arabia, which is our Avengers.
Oh, because it's the whole team.
Yeah. And it's based on the abaya, and each girl is representing a different demographic of society. So
that's really cool.
You have, your mixed immigrant Arabs, she's Sudanese Saudi, you have your Shia, your Sunnah, you have your LGBT representation, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, of course.
So
I did hear about that. I remember reading about how you decided to include like an LGBTQ character in it, which I think is really great because you really go into intersectionalism.
Well, we're trying to represent reality. I'm not trying to tell you this is right or this is wrong or change how you believe it. But if I'm trying to be authentic to my audience and I'm trying to service the people that I want to purchase my content, I need to respect all the audience. And I wanted to give a platform for every demographic within our community to be represented. And I'm so excited for Pride of Arabia to come out because it's not what people expect, and it's going to challenge some perceptions really strongly. So I'm like really excited about it.
Yeah, and of course, like even though they're all different people, they're all strong Arab women. We're all working together. I think that's really great.
Right, and that's the thing. That's why they're called Pride of Arabia, because they're basically a pride of lionesses. And lionesses to me, like you just need to look at nature to understand who you are. And when you see lionesses hunt and organize to, the king is useless, the lion is useless, just sitting there. But the lionesses, there's no ego. They collaborate. Each one of them is a leader. Each one of them has a specialty, and the strategy and the teamwork between them is unbelievable. And so I wanted to create a group that didn't have a leader. And Pride of Arabia kind of came to light as a result of literally watching was it Planet Earth, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true though, like it's always strength in numbers, like in nature we see it, and it's really great because...
Well, there's always this sense of cattiness.
Yeah.
We see it like even today with, if there's a group of women, immediately there's conflict between them. That's one, again, a misconception, and it's a stereotype. So I wanted to show a group of women where each one of them individually is a leader and can carry her own weight or lead her own people. So I wanted to put such strong personalities together and then play with it and see how people receive it. And I'm excited. Hopefully next year this comes out.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Thank you.
This is something that's in the works now.
Yeah.
Great. And then for Latifah too, I know this is your first one. How long do you picture it going? Would you have an end in sight, or is it going to be like ongoing?
It's when you're producing your own stuff, you're limited sometimes by how many issues you can put out there. So my goal is to, we have a series that Latifah is just kind of the first, but we have a follow-up 6 episodes, and then we're going to be launching our next title, and then give Latifah a break, and then hopefully based on how the fans respond to it, we're going to be introducing more, because I need to see her in a movie. She's made for, that's my goal, so I'm hoping that by next year we can make that happen.
I actually had a question for you about that, because I was thinking this would be really cool for a movie. Like I love the post-apocalyptic setting, like that's like my favorite genre.
Right.
I really love how it's about a strong woman. I mean, as a woman myself, it's really great to see when there's women characters as the main character who are independent, who, it's not just a love interest.
And I just must say that, I'm initiating this movement, but I don't claim to speak for women, and I don't claim to know everything. So, that's why with the work that I do, if it's a male-focused writing team, there has to be female consultants that come in to make it as authentic as possible. But now moving forward, we have titles where we have Saudi writers working on it. We have a girl from Jordan who's working on it, and then we're going to expand it, because I'm utilizing the privilege that I know I have as a man to break through, but I'm very cognizant of that, and I'm taking a step back to allow the people who are more deserving of this opportunity to tell their story.
That's great. So we can build the team and have more and more people coming into the project. And I was wondering too, for the movie, like if we were to make a movie for Latifah, like who would you cast to play Latifah? You could choose anyone.
It'll have to be an unknown. I think this would be a great opportunity to get an Arab actress, hopefully a Saudi actress, to do it. But I don't see. I think Latifah's they're big shoes to fill. So whoever comes on board needs to earn it, regardless if she's a well-known actress or not.
Yeah.
So this movie's apparently not going to be made if I'm being this, I don't know, but I just feel like it's about opportunities.
Definitely.
And she needs to be represented by a fresh face. But if I had my wish, unfortunately she's not here, I would have picked Aaliyah to play her.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or maybe even Michelle Rodriguez.
Cool.
I think, because she's girl, she had Girl Fight and she's super badass, so.
Yeah. And also, I know that this comics are out now, and obviously there's more things to franchise coming with the mobile game and more comics in the works. What do you think, what impact do you believe this franchise will have?
When I was in Saudi, we were doing Saudi Comic Con, which again can't believe I'm even saying that Comic Con was in Saudi. There were women in their 30s, 40s coming up to us in tears, and they're saying, I never thought that I would ever be represented. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. That's a sense of responsibility. So that's what it's about. It's about, you know, even if I don't sell, even if nothing comes out of this first comic, the fact that I was able to offer that opportunity, that moment to women from my culture means I've done my job. And I just feel that genuine honesty in the reaction just gives me hope that this is only the beginning of something amazing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's definitely something when, I know especially for younger women or people growing up, when you see in the media, they really want to see someone they can relate to. And it's really difficult when you don't really see that representation, or if it's negative.
Right.
So it's really important that they can see someone they can look up to.
It's always like, it's, you know, the story, that's why it's important that this story doesn't have a male figure in it. Like, you know, a lot of the stories that we hear, even of superheroes, like Sailor Moon is one of my favorite stories, but it's all about tuxedo mask.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's cute, and I get the manga aspect of it, but really, she can, you know, save the world, and she's like, she can't figure it out what to do with herself because a man is there. It's like, no, that's not what we're going to do with this one.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing too. Like, I really dislike it when there's like a great plot, right? But then romance kind of comes in the picture, and then it seems like that
it's almost like it's almost a formula. It's almost like that's the only way that we can make people see her as female is by making her identity related to a man.
To the man,
And I'm like, no.
That's true. There's like so many movies I've seen, like, oh great, a strong female character, and then all of a sudden, oh wait, then she gets married and has kids at the end, and it just didn't seem like it was in the picture at all.
Right.
Until the end.
And I think, you know, women have, you know, with the Women's March, and even though it was an American issue, women from all over the world, even Saudi Arabia and Kuwait marched. So women have had enough. They've had enough, absolutely, of being mistreated, misrepresented, and you know, I'm hoping that we can speak to that, and we can, you know, be of service and of support to that movement. And the moment that we're not is the moment that I will stop doing this. Right. So what I challenge and what I ask of my audience, and hopefully future audience, is to keep us honest and to keep us authentic, and to tell us exactly, you know, what works and what doesn't work. We're building this together, and I want to service everybody and still be as entertaining as possible. So I'm super excited, and Borough Con is the best place to start this movement.
Yeah. I think it's great. I'm really happy that you're here as a guest too.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. And I know, Your Highness, I have a few more questions for you actually. I was also wondering for the game itself, because I know for gameplay, that's a lot different than reading a comic.
Yeah.
So how do you think your audience will be affected, you know, differently versus
we started off as a gaming company, and as we evolved, you know, the way that we transitioned into a comic book company from a gaming company is, as I was developing the Latifa game, and I started developing the character's background, you know, because you have to do the profile, right? These stories started coming to my mind, and then it was a natural progression. So we also wanted to target the same movement within the gaming space, because again, there's the representation of women in games is either over-sexualized, or they're in these ridiculous storylines. You know, if you look at the App Store, you know, there's a Kim Kardashian game, and there's a fashion game, and like the other games that exist in women is like Tomb Raider, which doesn't, like, it's again over-sexualized characters. So I felt that there's still a gap also within the gaming sphere. So that's why I wanted to enter both at the same time with this content.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so do you see, like, I know it's all in the same universe, right?
Yeah.
Are you seeing it as being something that's always going to be in the same timeline, or are you thinking of
Yeah, so actually you know, I'm playing off of, I love what Marvel is doing with like kind of consolidating the timelines of their movies and their TV shows and their comics. So we wanted to have them both, like if you get the game and the comic book, you're getting a full comprehensive experience, and if not, you're still getting one. But the story that we're going to be introducing as the continuation of Latifa is going to be around the game. So it's putting the game into context. So you want to learn more about what is, you know, how she got to this point in the game, you're going to have to read the comic book.
That's That's great.
Trying to make money.
That's great though. No, that's good though. And then also
It's
like
business.
not just that, but it's also good to have
it's storytelling,
both. You can play and then you can also read it.
Exactly, and one thing we're introducing is we're going to have QR codes on our future comics, so you can scan them and then the fight scene will come to life.
I heard about that from your booth. I actually was at your booth for Latifa, and the girl who was at the booth was telling me how you can actually scan it and see it come to life on your phone, which I thought was a really cool touch.
So we're hoping to start, like, because technology is amazing.
Yeah.
We want to diversify how we tell stories and reimagine, like, it's not just one genre.
That's true.
And you can spread it out and still have impact.
It's also great too because then you're targeting people who do like different things. So, you know, some people for games, some people for reading.
So you're consolidating your audience because we're building an audience, and you know, like you said, the comic book audience, the traditional comic book audience is different than the digital comic book audience. That's different than the video game audience versus the mobile game audience.
That's true.
So the thing is, you know, predominantly because the Arab community or the Arab diaspora is, or the main kind of focus of our audience and who we're trying to service, even though we're releasing globally, exists online. So I wanted to piggyback off of the Arab Spring and the movements that are happening online and presenting this content in a space where it's familiar to them. Because we don't have comic book stores, you know, so it's not like this is a normal experience for us. Or we can't, women can't go and buy video games comfortably. So by providing it online for them in these spaces, it's easier to reach my core audience.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Your Highness.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure speaking with you.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your con.
Thank you. And if you're around tomorrow, say